I'm Josh Hutchinson, and this is Salem Witch Trials Daily for Tuesday, May 31st, 1692. Can't believe we're already closing out May.
A lot has happened, and a lot more is going to happen. This is Sarah Jack. Today was an extremely busy day in the Salem Witch Trials. The key events were the arrest of John Alden, the examinations of 7 witchcraft suspects, and the writing of 2 important letters about the preparations for the trials, which will begin in 2 days.
We have records for 4 of the examinations that occurred today. The examinations of John Alden, Martha Carrier, Elizabeth Howe, and Wilmot Redd. Unfortunately, the records of the 3 other examinations of Philip English, William Procter, and Sarah Rice do not exist any longer.
In addition, author Marilyn Roach noted in her writing that Mary and Margaret Toothaker may have been examined today, as well as possibly Captain John Flood, all of whom had recently been complained of.
Beyond these examinations, 14 surviving depositions and witness statements have been dated to today by the editors of records of the Salem Witch Hunt.
By now, a petition had been circulated for Rebecca Nurse, signed by 39 men and women, who stated that they were, quote, desired by Goodman Nurse to declare what we know concerning his wife's conversation for time past. No date is indicated in the petition, but it was signed between Rebecca's March 23rd arrest and May 14th, when signer Daniel Andrew fled arrest. So this major petition was out there before the trials even began.
Before the trials began, they were already advising the judges that this woman was of good character and innocent, and they had no reason to suspect her before. So the petitioners declared that her life and conversation, her behavior, had been according to her profession of her Christian faith. The petition closes by saying the friends and neighbors, quote, never had any cause or grounds to suspect Rebecca of any such thing as she is now accused of.
Witch Judge John Richards asked Cotton Mather for advice on how to proceed with the trials. Today, Cotton wrote back telling John, who was a member of Cotton's church, not to count on spectral evidence as evidence of guilt because devils could impersonate innocent people, even saints. Although he didn't mention the fact that only the supposed afflicted people could see the specters, which should have ruled spectral evidence out as conclusive evidence.
Cotton also urged Richards to use only reliable, uncoerced confessions as evidence, and Cotton laid out a list of other evidences that were grounds for suspicion, but not proof of guilt. Wounds matching those allegedly inflicted upon specters, preternatural knowledge, witch marks, puppets, and failing to recite the Lord's Prayer. These were not sufficient proofs because the devil could have put these things in place without the suspect's knowledge.
Minister Cotton recommended leniency, giving lesser penalties for lesser charges, and reducing penalties for repentant confessors. Under the law that had been in place under the old Charter of Massachusetts, witchcraft was punished by death.
Turning to another important letter, Attorney General Thomas Newton wrote to Provincial Secretary Isaac Addington today. Thomas sent a list of inmates he wanted transferred. Rebecca Nurse, John Procter, Elizabeth Procter, Susanna Martin, Bridget Bishop, Alice Parker, and Tituba were to be taken to the court in Salem on June 2nd.
Thomas also wanted records of Bridget Bishop's 1679 witchcraft trial.
And Thomas wrote, I fear we shall not this week try all that we have sent for. By reason the trials will be tedious, and the afflicted persons cannot readily give their testimony, being struck dumb and senseless for a season at the name of the accused.
He continued, I have been all this day at the village with the gentlemen of the council at the examination of 7 persons, where I have beheld most strange things, scarce credible, but to the spectators, and too tedious here to relate.
He wrote, amongst the rest, Captain Alden and Mr. English have their minimus, and I must say, according to the present appearance of things, they are as deeply concerned as the rest, for the afflicted spare no person of what quality soever, neither conceal their crimes, though never so heinous.
Thomas asked that Tituba and Mrs. Thatcher's maid, who may have been Bridget Denmark, be transferred to Salem as witnesses, but kept apart from the other inmates.
And we don't know why he requested that. But we do have an account of John Alden's examination written in his own words, as published in Robert Califf's book, More Wonders of the Invisible World. John wrote that he was examined before John Hathorne, Jonathan Corwin, and Bartholomew Gedney, quote, upon the accusation of a company of poor, distracted, or possessed creatures or witches.
Of this company, John said, those wenches being present who played their juggling tricks, falling down, crying out, and staring in people's faces, the magistrates demanded of them several times who it was all of the people in the room that hurt them.
According to John, one of the afflicted persons pointed to Captain Hill until an onlooker standing at her back bent to her ear. Then she cried out of Alden.
Then they were all sent to the street outside. A ring was formed, and the afflicted girls who had cried out of Alden now said, there stands Alden, a bold fellow with his hat on before the judges. He sells powder and shot to the Indians and French, and lies with the Indian squaws, and has Indian papooses.
The magistrates ordered the sheriff to take custody of Alden, who waited several hours before he was called back to the meeting house for questioning. He was made to stand on a chair so that everyone could see him better.
The afflicted had their usual fits, and Bartholomew Gedney encouraged John Alden to confess to witchcraft. But Alden refused. He said he hoped he should give glory to God and hoped he should never gratify the devil, but appealed to all that ever knew him, if they ever suspected him to be such a person, and challenged anyone that could bring in anything upon their own knowledge that might give suspicion of his being such a one.
And John's account states, Mr. Gedney said he had known Alden many years and had been at sea with him and always looked upon him to be an honest man, but now he did see cause to alter his judgment.
Alden answered he was sorry for that, but he hoped God would clear up his innocency, that he would recall that judgment again, and added that he hoped that he should, with Job, maintain his integrity till he died.
John Alden was committed to the prison in Boston.
Martha Carrier was examined by the same magistrates, one of whom began the proceedings by asking Abigail Williams, Elizabeth Hubbard, Susanna Sheldon, and Mary Walcott who hurt them. They all answered that it was Martha Carrier, who bit, pinched, and nearly choked them, and asked them to sign the devil's book.
The magistrate asked, what do you say to this you are charged with?
Martha answered, I have not done it.
Susanna Sheldon accused Martha of looking upon the devil, whom she referred to as the black man. The magistrate asked Martha, what black man did you see?
She said, I saw no black man, but your own presence. Later, the afflicted persons claimed to see 13 ghosts who accused Martha of murdering them. The accusers said that Martha also saw the ghosts, but she said that was a lie. She was wronged.
The record of the examination closes with, quote, the tortures of the afflicted were so great that there was no enduring of it, so that she was ordered away and to be bound hand and foot with all expedition. The afflicted in the meanwhile almost killed, to the great trouble of all spectators, magistrates, and others.
When Elizabeth Howe was examined, she said, if it was the last moment I was to live, God knows I am innocent.
Throughout the examination, the afflicted persons complained of Elizabeth Howe hurting them, and the magistrates tried to get Elizabeth to confess, but she refused.
Wilmot Redd's examination went much the same way that Elizabeth Howe's did. The afflicted persons accused her of hurting them, which she denied, saying she couldn't tell what was going on.
Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to check out our episodes the rest of this week, because this is the start of the actual trials this week.